who's been through that living hell, and you came back pretty quickly. It didn't take you all that long. It wasn't all that of a struggle. What did you have that created that bounce? And so the resilience strategy in your book is really the summary of just lots and lots of time and looking at that structure. So open frame.
In the Accessing Personal Genius Manual, I was reading the page where you talk about how to work with your client when you elicit states.
Okay.
And there's a statement at the bottom there that really touched me, that it said, to really understand to allow them their process, they need to be protected and supported. And that really touched me a lot because there's so much safety here. And what I'd like to do is see if you could unpack how you create that protection when you're working with somebody up front. How you make it safe for them to do the work so that they don't want to get out of the chair or leave and feel negative.
Okay. That's a tough question because I don't know fully. I suppose part of it is the state I'm in and some of my belief system. My belief system is that when someone is up here, no one is going to touch them. When I first started doing things in public and working in a public demonstration, somehow or another there were people who would try to correct or say something, and so I learned the hard way that I'm going to protect this person, and if I have to shut someone down, this person is going to be protected. This person has the courage and the boldness to come up and to work in front, and so that's my attitude, that it's about this person. So usually when I'm working with this person, I'm not even scanning everybody else in the room. I'm just present with that person, and I zoom in. And even though it is a presentation, demonstration to everybody else, my attitude is that is to validate and protect that person, and that it's about their experience. And because they have all the resources they need, I'm not there to fix them. I'm just facilitating as a coach. And it's the discovering whatever they're going to be discovering. But beyond that, I don't know. Some of the trainers here may be able to see things, because I think it's at an unconscious level for myself about how to do that. I don't know. Anybody have any?
The first thing I noticed is that you no longer make eye contact with them. So
Okay.
all during the training, you make eye contact with it. I had wondered how you did it, and I kept watching, and I noticed eventually that you don't make eye contact anymore.
Yeah.
You may see people, but you don't really focus on them.
Yeah. Now, I know in my consciousness it's just me and whoever I'm working with. It's as if everybody else has gone away.
But Michael, would that differ if you were with Europeans, you're with people where English is not the first language? So, yeah, you and I, we have to work harder at making sure they can connect with our language.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you have some input from the group, so do you remember that changing things?
When I'm in a country that I don't speak the language and there's an interpreter, when I work with someone, I'll have them here, and I'll always ask the interpreter to be right here so that they can be talking to me. But I'm in view here, even though I don't understand the language. But I'm reading the body language, and I'm engaged with that person. So I'm still going. It's about them. It's not about the translator. So I suppose that's part of just being present with someone. So most of us know that there's something such as listening with your eyes. And that when you're with someone, if you're there, if your eyes are always darting around, and but if you listen with your eyes, listen with your ears, listen with your skin. And I guess that's one of the metaphors I learned many years ago, to listen with my full presence and not just my ears, and to give that presence. And to envelop that person with that. So that's one of the ways I think about it. Brian?
It's just occurred to me, if you're working for things like touch, does that inhibit in any way you being able to use trancy language and tonality? Because is the translator going to be able to pick up the sense as well as the...
What I'm told, and of course, because I've asked that question, because a lot of times I'll hear the translator, and the translator will not lower the voice or do this or that as I'm doing it. But what I'm told is the person hears how I'm speaking and somehow or another picks that up and is going with that. So I don't know.
That's kind of difficult.
Juan, what do you think? Because you were there in Mexico when we had that situation.
Yes, the kind of thing that you are saying is what is happening there. So the person is like hearing Michael, but has the translation by the translator. But it's like engaged with you, not with the translator.
And so what about the language of trance or the language of going in?
It's pretty much the same.
Okay.
So it goes with the intention.
Mm-hmm. I was asking Juan yesterday about some of the phrases, some of the things that were going on here in terms of translating to Spanish. Juan has just translated half the book of Movie Mind into Spanish. We've got a couple other books in that process. A couple of years ago, I was in Monterrey, Mexico, and I was doing the opening up pattern. I think we'll do that tomorrow, the opening up, so that you go with a belief, and when you have that belief fully and completely, what opens up to you about that? Well, in Spanish, open up is kind of like just open a door. And so it doesn't translate. And so I was doing this, and the translator, we were doing simultaneous translation, so everybody had headphones. And so I said this, and all of a sudden I saw everybody go. I go, what? And so he said, open up. And I said, yeah, just when you hear what is above that just opens up, and it wasn't. And so he translated it, what comes to you. What comes to you when you're here. And so every once in a while we have that kind of a shift. And it's interesting that for those of us in English, those are two different things. What opens up or what comes to you. Well, I never even thought about asking that question. But there's another one that then plays a different twist in the mind. When you're here, what comes to you about that? And it invites us to go some new places.
Well, remember also when you were in Querétaro, the translator was plugging in a different channel. The guy that has the mistresses and she didn't explain it to you the way she was calibrating the guy.
Yeah. Yeah, some funny things can happen with the changeover of languages. In French, David, you may help me with this one. In French, the responsibility for and to does not translate well.
No, it doesn't, and I have
You have problems with that?
trouble just considering.
Because the preposition is responsible of, and so there's really not the for and the to. But that distinction is not very clear at all, and I don't know how it gets translated. I know in Geneva and some other places, people have just really struggled with what is this distinction we're trying to make with for and to, because it's more responsible of myself and of my loved ones and of. And so, what have you done with that? So in language and the field of linguistics, we say that if you don't have a word for something, then that something does not exist for your reality, which really kind of illustrates this. And so that's why language can take us places, and why sometimes we have to invent new words so that we can go to someplace new and different and wonderful.
That's a good question. Well, as he's bringing that up, is that something of the nature where, because they don't have the concept, it's not a meta program that like it would be for us.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it's not a meta program, so it's not one that they really need in that sense, because they don't have our problem with the two different zones, if you want to use that term.
Well, because the language does not create that filter, the for-to filter in that case, or the opening up or the coming to. Well, if the language does not create that filter, then it's hard to create that state unless there's some synonymous metaphor or something that can be translated over. And
That's hard to believe.
Why think?
We're the lucky ones.
Sterling?
Just thinking about this as we're talking about it, I mean, is it, if they, just because they don't have an English equivalent, does that necessarily mean that the concept itself?
Not necessarily. But some of these cases, like the 4-2, and that's why David says he's still struggling with that, because without the words, they create the concept, and a lot of times the concept will be there, just different words. We have to find different language, but sometimes there's not even the concept. I mean, it's like we struggle with this idea that the sum is greater, the experience is greater than the sum of the parts. And we don't have an English word, so we use a German word, Gestalt. So we pull that in there to use that to do service to it, and eventually it becomes anglicized, and so we feel like it's an English word, but it's a German word. And so we oftentimes have to do that. We have to, so that we can have that concept.
Right. But the concept of the sum being greater part exists. I'm sure in France, the concept of
We have some.
the sense of, and whatever the word is, sense of feeling responsible for things outside of yourself and taking on that responsibility and stressing yourself or putting yourself in negative states because of that.
Yeah.
The concept that it happens, that phenomena happens, just, I don't know, they don't have a word for it, but the phenomenon itself still exists, I would imagine.
Yeah, I was just thinking because the word codependence struck me because in Holland there's actually no real translation for that word.
So in Dutch, there's none?
No, and hence people don't come with those issues. They like relationships, codependence, what are you on about? And but then you have to go look at the structure of what people do. But it's much less prominent as in English, codependence.
Yeah.
But is there a phenomenon where there are partners and one partner allows the other partner's thoughts and feelings to affect them because they feel that they must do something? Does that
They have to fix.
That phenomenon exists only in a much lesser kind of extent. Yeah.
Wendell Johnson, in his book, People in Quandaries, 1946, it was republished in 1976, and Wendell Johnson, a speech pathologist who stuttered, who was a general semanticist, People in Quandaries is a great general semanticist book, has a chapter way in the back of the book called The Indians Have No Word for It. And he studied in the 1940s 4 American Native Indian cultures, and there was no word for stuttering. And in those 4 American Native American cultures, nobody stuttered. He could not find an adult Native American who stuttered. But he found 4 children who stuttered, who came from that genetic lineage, but they were all raised by white people who taught them to stutter. And so the Indians have no word for it. If you don't have the word, it's hard to have the experience. It doesn't mean that they weren't non-fluent at times. They would be non-fluent, but it was nothing.
That's right. If you didn't put a label on it, it wasn't a problem.
It wasn't a problem.
And I think that's the key about it. Some of the Native American tribes have no tense, which is very interesting.
Yeah, the
Hopi.
Hopi.
With the Hopi, they don't have they don't think linearly like you and I do. There's no past, present, or future. You may have a conversation with them in which they're talking about their dead grandparents in the same sentence they're talking about going to church tomorrow. And if you don't understand the context of the discussion, you're ultimately confused.
Okay. So one of the meta states that we were born in is our particular language, and it's full of filters, and it's not real. But we think we use that language to think, but we can only go so many places with it, and there is toxic language, and so some words itself and some phrases don't serve us well as a map. And so I think part of where we're going as a species is also inventing new and better language so that we can say things and conceptualize things and feel things that right now we don't even have the language for.
I was just thinking about codependency because I realized that in everyday language it's not a word people use Not at all. But like in certain therapeutical scenes, it's obviously known because of American or English literature. But then people just go, you know, well, only therapists can think that, make that up, you know. And so it kind of becomes a jargon for a certain group of people.
Okay, Bob?
So, taking that concept that we've been talking about and going back to in the beginning was the word, I'm wondering how powerful that is in the effect of creating our reality.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is it's like the movie matrix. They really do create.
Yeah. In the beginning of each of our mental worlds, is the word.
Yeah.
So what you say can call into our neurosemantic reality what we think exists.
I'd even say it can change it to will.
So once it comes in, then our nervous system is seeking to make it real, is seeking to realize it. And so we metabolize words. So if the word failure is in your mental vocabulary, and that's a possible state to go to, then your nervous system will try to make it and actualize it and metabolize it. So that's why having what Tony Robbins calls transformational grammar, transformational language, transformational words, and having the best kind of languaging, because as we speak, it calls it into existence, and sometimes the problem is stop talking that way to yourself. Stop using that kind of language. And so in NLP, we know about organ language. You know, she's such a pain in the neck. And so we need to be careful how we talk, because it may be sending messages or even commands to the nervous system how to make that real for us. Mike?
Some of the readings I've done in linguistics, and I forget I can't remember who I quoted this from, but the limitations of your language is the limitations of your world.
Yeah.
When you look at Eskimos, some of the Eskimo tribes have over 200 words for snow. And some of the theory, going back to Worf and Sapir, is that they literally make distinctions that you and I don't make.
Yeah.
They see things
we can't
in the
see
world,
it.
exactly right, that aren't even, because they don't have the language for it.
Yeah. So one of the ways, we've known this for some time, that one way to increase intelligence is increase vocabulary. It's as simple as that. And that's why the vocabulary of NLP, while it is jargonistic, a lot of time, when I first found some of it, now I can talk about some of the stuff, because I've got a way of talking, and now I can go new places, and I think that was Wittgenstein who said the limits of our world is the limits of our language.
Right, and what we say to ourselves, like, I will, or we visualize having it already, will it manifest in your life faster?
Yeah, that's a little different there, and I think because of metastates. And this is why I think affirmations, for the most part, are ineffective. Because if I say, I am a millionaire, but then in the back of my mind is, yeah, really. Whereas if I keep it out there, I am moving in the direction to become wealthy. I am moving in the direction to become financially independent. And every part of mine says, yes. Then it'll move me and energize me. Whereas if I put it in the present tense, what's not true.
Okay.
So I think the best way, and that's why the well-formed outcome is putting it into positive steps and what I do want and what I can do, what I can start, what I can initiate, what I can maintain, and specific, and sending these cues, this is where I'm going. I am taking charge of my mind, and I'm taking charge of my eating habits or my exercise, rather than I am fit or something when in the back of not so. And so that is the power of some of these linguistic distinctions that we run. Other comments, questions as we begin our third day in Living Genius? We access the state of genius, the state of focus, the state of engagement. And I don't know which genius states you access for engagement, because what do you want to be engaged in? Today we're going to look at the subject of engagement. We're going to be asking the question of, what do you care about? What do you want to do? What do you want to contribute? 2 days ago we talked about, well, how do we cope? What meta states do we need? What neurosemantic states do I need so that when things don't go the way I want them to, I'll stay with it. I'll be proactive. I'll be responsible for myself and to all the relationships and to all the subjects. And I'll stay optimistic and keep evil out and be resilient. And then yesterday, when people aren't cooperating with us, how can I be loving and caring and compassionate and being uninsultable? How can I stay focused and clear when other people may be obstructing or getting in my way so that I can create relationships and team and commitment? Today, what is the engagement? What is your passion? Where do you want to go? What opportunities do you want to experience? And so today our focus is on what we do, our contribution. So 2 days ago when we started, it was on beingness and the states that you take with you. And yesterday on relationships, but today we go to the matrix of the world. What contributions do you want to make? What do you want to experience? What do you want to do? What do you want to contribute? What legacy do you want to leave? What do you want to do in terms of that passion? So that's where we go today as we think about that. If you had not been through the intentionality pattern, that would be the first one I would run today. So at different times today, you may want to just real quickly refresh that. Take any engagement and find your highest intentionality. Because if I'm going to follow my passions, and I think that is at the heart of having a fun and enjoyable life. I think that is at the heart of really wealth building. Because if I'm committed to being true to my predispositions, my talents, my gifts, the things that I'm naturally skilled at, and I'll follow those passions, the things that I want to experience, who I want to become, what I want to contribute, what I want to do, and I commit myself to that passion, even if at first I'm not going to get paid for my passion. If I have to do it as a hobby, I have to do it after hours. One of the things in the literature of wealth building is that the people who became the self-made millionaires is they did not let the limitations of a job stop them from following their passion. They just did it after hours. They made it a hobby at first. They got better at it and more learned and more skilled at it. And eventually it had worth that people would pay for. And so following our passions, do you have some passions? An ideal life? So take any engagement, regardless of who you're working for or how you make your living, and rise above. How is that important? And at first it just pays the bills. Well, how is that important? And how is that important? How is that important? Because if I can manage my motivations, my agenda, my drive, if I can bring the highest intentions to whatever I do, then I'm going to make myself more valuable. As I make myself more valuable and more indispensable, I'll have more worth in terms of the financial area, and then have more choices, more options. And of course, what that does, it also develops our sense of what do I want to go do? When I started the wealth building program, a number of years ago, I had decided I would see if I could do something, financially to have a backup system. And I came across and had an opportunity to buy a rental house. And so I bought this rental house. I bought it for $400 because I really didn't have any money, and I ended up buying it because the guy wanted to unload it, and it was a dump. I mean, it was a dump. When I went over there to finally take possession of it, the weeds were that high all around it. It had not been painted in years and years, and it had been torn up, and so it was not much of anything, but I started playing with it and cleaning it up and painting it and doing this, and I was so desperate to get somebody in there that I went through many people coming in and coming out, tearing it up and everything, and what activated me was I should read people better than this. It really wasn't about the money or the rental or the property. It was I have to figure out a way to read people better than this. Because I'd choose one person, I think that they say that they'll take care of it. And when I call up their friends, they say, oh yeah. And when one family burnt the house down, I came back from vacation, and I come in town, and I'm going over there because the rent was due, and I come over there, and the house was burnt down. Thank God I had insurance. I said, okay, that's it. There has to be a meta program for responsibility. And now in the Figuring Out People, we have a meta program for how to discern responsibility, and that it came out of that. But that's my motivation. And so now, and I'll talk a little bit about this as we move throughout the day, how to do, but that's what motivated me. I'm going to learn to read people. And I can now say that in the last 5 years, I've not had a single person move out. They all just end up buying the houses. And they become good friends. And I've got it framed in such a way that when they move in, they take just absolute, total responsibility for it. So I can be off for months. And I know that everything is going fine. And so... So having a motivation, that whatever you do, having a motivation, a drive, a passion, so that you have a big reason, and a big enough reason to care about something and to do something. So that's where we're going to go today, and we're going to do a pattern, Finding Your Passion. That'll be our first pattern that we'll do in a few minutes after we do our group thing. But before that, if you hadn't run the intentionality pattern, I would invite you to run that on everything you actually do. So so everything you do, I would run that intentionality pattern, because the more intentional you get, you'll be able to call forth your passions. You may not even know your passions. When I've been through, most of us have been through many careers. I've been through 4 or 5 careers. I think I'm on my 5th career now. How many have been through at least 2 careers? 3? 4? 5 careers? 6 careers? Okay, so and most of us, maybe 7 or 8. So most of us keep changing, and sometimes we have to go through some careers to find out what we really want. Most of you know I went through seminary, and I thought, well, that was my career. And I got fired every 9 months, 5 times. The first time I thought, those stupid people, those closed-minded people. The second time I thought, the closed-minded people. And the third time I thought, could I be adding anything to this? By the 4th time, I think there's a pattern here. And by the 5th time, I realized that this is not for me. And so I started looking around for something else. What is my passion? What do I care about? What do I want to do? What do I want to give myself to? And so finding our passion, I think, is a journey, is a discovery. And if we're open to feedback and discovering and playing and being open also to what makes our heart alive, what gets us up in the morning, what excites us, what makes us feel more alive, then we can find that passion and then go explore that. Let me get Magnus, and then I'll come up with April. That would be back in Accessing Personal Genius, yeah. So back in Personal Genius, the intentionality, it is starting with any intention. Why are you doing whatever you're doing? Whatever engagement, why are you doing that? And why is that important? And why is that important? And why is that? And so intentionality, to run it on everything we do. So I've run it when I sit down to just to proofread. Well, why do that? You know, because here's some details that I'm not all that excited about. Well, why do that? And if you want to add energy and drive and passion to your life, because if you're moving through life just, here's some details, and the worst thing is that state. That's the worst thing. Because if the quality of your life is the quality of your state, and you're doing anything in a blah state. So when I'm picking up in the room here, when I'm picking up, I want to have someone's got to pick it up. I don't want to have that attitude. I want to have an attitude of why pick up cups? Why pick up pieces of paper? I want to have a big enough why, a reason to make a room a room that is a place that's desirable and pleasant to be in. So even the smallest little thing. And this is the thing about the self-made millionaires. The self-made millionaires, even when they got plenty of money, they come into their place of business and they're picking up and they're sorting and they're still engaged because they care. And I'm going to suggest to you throughout the day that that is the drive that allows us to become financially independent. We care. We care. Whatever we do, we care about. And that gets communicated. That gets translated. It's not just a job. It's not just, because if you're in that state, so whatever you're doing, even if you're in that transition, moving to where you finally get to do whatever your passion is, if you're in that state, if you're doing it with passion, and how to find that passion, how to bring those kinds of states and resources to whatever we do, seems to me to be the key. April?
In my life, I find that I've had a lot of them, and I've had the flexibility of making this a career now and getting into the vitamins and then going from that and being successful, then going into something else, another passion. So for me, it's not trying to get to my passion; it's actually living the passion.
Whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is where we're going to go through today, Jim.
I think there's, well, let me start out with this. Some people believe that there are personal passions and there are professional passions. And a strategy might be, if you take a look at yourself personally and look at what you love to do, whether you call it passion or core desires, and you create a list of those kinds of things, and then you look at yourself in the professional place that you are at this moment in time, and take a look at those elements, what you'll find is opportunities to relate tasks to that will free you up to do them in a manner that is not a grind. And I think that what Michael was talking about is, the millionaires running around tidying up, making sure that all the shirts are on the counter and the baskets are empty. If you can relate your outcomes to your professional and your personal competencies, and you work on them all the time, not only will you use your time more effectively, but you'll have a lot more fun. And the closure on this is turning work into play. Ultimately, if you address each one of these increments, what you'll find is, instead of becoming the grind, the task, it becomes a method of self-expression and personal growth. So I invite you to consider taking a look at the things that you really enjoy, passions, and breaking them into both personal and professional competencies. And then, based on that, instead of using your planner as a scheduler, use it as a liberating device so that you focus on what it is that you really enjoy doing.
Okay. In just a moment, we're going to go to our groups, and I'd like you to take your books to write down some of the outcomes you'd like for today, because that'll also support that intentionality. What's the outcome you'd like today? Well, something specific enough that at the end of the day you can look at that and say, I got it. An outcome, or an outcome that you'd like to set for the next month. And so we'll also check with states to where you are. When we're at a training like this, sometimes things happen in our lives, and I understand that, Denise, that your brother has had a heart attack. And so as we go to the groups, being aware of that, maybe offering some thoughts to heaven with regard to your brother. What's your brother's name? Daniel. He's in surgery now. And so our hearts go out to you and to him and his family. Does everybody have an awareness of your passion? Some of them. For some of us, it'll be choosing between our passions. We're passionate about this, we could get passionate about that, and we're tossed to and fro, and that's where we need that genius state to go in and just be with one thing that we're passionate about. But for some people, finding their passion is the question. What really cranks me up? What really gets me in that state of wanting something? To facilitate this for just a moment, let me invite you to close your eyes and just imagine your timeline in the future, however you represent that. I like seeing a pathway before me, a pathway that has many different branches, many different ways to go. A sense of this year, a sense of next year, a sense of 2 years from now, where you'll be in 5 years, what you'll be doing, what you'll be experiencing, what you'd like to grow and develop so that it fulfills your visions, your dreams, your hopes, your values, and of course, your passions. Just that sense. Where would you like to be? What would you like to be doing? If you had the ideal day 2 years from now, 5 years from now, the ideal day, just imagine getting up in the morning, and where would you go? What would you be doing? Who would you be with? How would you be feeling? What would be your frames of mind? What would you be believing? What would you be seeking to achieve and accomplish? If you had an ideal day, the way that you want to make your future. And so let yourself dream a dream. Don't worry about not knowing how to get there. But just let a dream, a vision arise. Something that's compelling, something that's exciting, something that would excite you. An ideal day, a couple years or maybe 5 years from now. And how would you be experiencing yourself? The kind of person you are becoming. The way you move through the world. And maybe the states that are just so close and so automatic that you just, it's the way you move through the world now. What I'd like to do is to work with someone up here to facilitate the process of metastating your engagement, your hopes, your dreams with passion. So that the design is to live with passion, whatever you're doing, wherever you are now, to add more passion to your life. And so if I could have someone to work with who would like that, more passion. Okay, Denise? We'll get Denise right here. And I'm going to walk through this on page 57, then we'll just turn you loose to add passion to your life. As we get started, a couple questions I'd like to ask you. Do you have permission to be passionate?
Yes.
Okay, no question about that.
No question.
So no objection to that. You can get passionate about things?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have some things that are easy for you to be passionate about?
Yes.
Okay. So with your partner, I would start with that question. It's really inside number one, if there's any problem accessing passion, because usually that would be the difficulty if a person doesn't have permission, to have that. And so as you did what you just did, if you notice that it's kind of hard, if it doesn't come, you might need to deal with those questions. Do you have permission to feel passionate? Do you have permission to dream? To try on and to give myself a chance to try on some wild things. Because sometimes we won't allow ourselves to go there unless we know how we're going to get there. But that'll stop the process. So just give yourself permission to dream and to be unrealistic in your desires. To be unrealistic in your desires. Now, for instance, if someone was going to go play tennis, it would be unrealistic to expect to hit every ball back. It'd be unrealistic to expect it, because life is as it is. But it wouldn't be unrealistic to want to always hit it back every time. So I think having unrealistic desires is okay. I want to always be resourceful. I want to be at my best. I want to make people feel good. And so this is where we turn it up and give ourselves permission to dream. And And if you don't know your passion, that seems to me to be one of the keys helping someone find their passion. To that playfulness. Let me just play with it for a bit. But Denise is already there, so we don't need to do that one. So, what is your passion?
The one that I have?
What are some of your passions?
Learning.
Okay.
And being open to new things. Traveling.
Okay.
My relationship, my partner.
Okay. Okay, so those are some natural passions for you.
Right.
What do you do, what are you engaged in now on a daily basis that you would like to live with more passion about?
Well, it's not what I'm engaged with right now. It's what I want to be engaged with a new career. You know, I don't know if I want to say a new career, but going back into some type of work.
Okay.
Business.
Okay. So what we want to do is, in this pattern, to meditate yourself with passion about whatever you're doing now, so that it starts this process so that you know how to live passionately with whatever you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That your passions will grow as you meditate yourself with passion.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you doing now that's important, that's significant, that's going to move you on to wherever it is that you want to go with your visions, your dreams?
This. What I'm doing here. This.
Okay.
This is one thing. And then, do you mean in terms of like what steps am I taking? Or?
Yeah. What are the engagements that you're doing now that we can meditate with passion, so that even the process of getting there is a process of passion?
I'm working on putting together a business plan and finding an attorney and accountant to put it together in a better way than I've done before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's some of the engagements that's going on. If you were to gauge yourself, how passionate do you feel about doing those things? How much drive?
Well, doing those things probably a 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yet those are the things that's moving to the passion.
Right.
Would you like to move to the passion passionately?
Yeah, sure.
So that'd be perfectly fine. You have permission for that.
Mm-hmm.
To be more engaged and to be more passionate and to be more involved with it and let that even itself be part of how you move to your passion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So that'll be our reference point then. This will be the primary state, as it were. And now the question now becomes, as we move before we move too far, is what would kill this passion? What would throw cold water on doing those things with passion? Are there any? Do you have any passion killers? Now, passion killers sometimes says, well, but that's just, and we discount.
Probably a lack of trust in those professions that I have to seek help from.
Okay.
You know, finding a good lawyer.
So, lack of trust or distrust or doubt.
Right, distrust.
Okay, those can kill passion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that would be some of the things that could throw cold water on your passion, or fears that would hold you back, or that context that make you more cautious, fearful, or apprehensive.
Also, taking on a large financial debt to move forward when I'm not exactly clear on what it is I want to offer.
Okay. So it sounds like one of the things that would enhance your passion is clarity.
Mm-hmm.
The more clear you are. And are you taking steps to become clear?
Well,
in writing the business plan, in studying and learning, are you taking the steps that will bring that clarity?
Aside from doing this, no, I mean, I was at a place where my previous work where I had passion, and I thought, this is my work for life, you know, and I was really into it. And now that I can't do that anymore, it's trying to reframe something of what I have to offer that's needed in society and wanted, obviously, that I have a passion to offer.
Okay. So you're in the process now of defining, redefining, clarifying, and moving that. Are there any old reference points that needs to be de-energized so that you feel free to give yourself to the process you're doing now? Any old hurts, resentments, pains, distresses about that? As you move from there, are you free to move on?
Yes.
Okay, you're free
Right.
to move on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And as you're moving on, are you moving with passion in this process of...
No.
Okay. So what do you need to do? What resources do you need to move on with passion?
Probably the biggest one is clarity and excitement about what I'm going to have to offer people. You know, I had a bigger dream, you know, when you said go any place you want, which was to have a healing center where I could offer multiple modalities for people in terms of getting physically well and staying well and preventing illness. And now, that big picture seems overwhelming to where I am now.
Okay.
So,
so the size of the picture itself may be killing some of the passion because it's too much?
Yeah, like, you know, I don't know that I can really get there.
Okay. So you're doubting?
Yeah.
You're questioning yourself? And my guess is those are some passion killers.
And I have some skills that I can do, but they're technical and kind of boring. You know, like hooking up someone on a computer and helping them retrain their brain, and, you know, the technical thing of doing it can be very boring, you know, although it's something that is beneficial to people.
Okay. So we go back to what stops you from taking the steps that you're taking with passion. What stops you? The size of it? Do we need to reduce the size or push it out further so that it's not so close and overwhelming?
I think that and the thought of doing it alone. Like in the past, when I had my business, I was on my own, and it was always me, and if I wasn't there, you know, and then...
So you know that does not serve passion. You need colleagues, you need associates, you need somebody who's part of your team. Okay.
Yeah.
So as you're thinking about this, my guess is this is part of your business plan then, to find your team members, to find your associates, to get clear. So what if we made some of that, some of the engagement that you need to do to move on? The clarity, finding the team members. Anything else? Because part I think of passion is knowing what are the steps I need to take, the first ones, and then what would be the attitude and state I need to take them in.
I think, you know, I've always been a person that goes 90 to nothing and runs into the wall and crashes, and part of that's being Aries, I suppose. But so now I'm at a time in my life when I know I don't have the reserve to do that anymore, and I have to do it in a way that I'm really pacing myself so I don't crash. And you know, I don't have that sense of my brakes, so it's almost like I hold myself back.
Okay. So is that a resource you need then, to have a sense of more in a holistic way moving forward, pacing yourself? Okay. Can you do that? Are you able to do that, to holistically pace yourself, and instead of going 90, go 50? And you're still moving?
Well, you know, that's something I'm moving towards doing.
Okay. Anything stop you from doing that?
No.
It's just a matter of
doing it.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do is take all these details and just kind of put them as a path in front of you, finding people, doing that. And then the question is how to turn up that excitement. how to turn up that excitement so you get excited about the process.
Mhm.
The vision is out there, the dream is out there, and that's passionate and exciting. But even to be passionate and excited about the process.
Mhm.
So what do you need to do to feel that? I guess it's some self-trust instead of self-doubting.
I think trust is a big thing. Not only in terms of self-trust, but trust of others.
Okay.
That's a big one. And I talked to Mike about, is there a process that we can do, even though I won't be here beyond the 7 days, of really learning to discern and trust from what you can read from people.
Yeah. To trust those who are trustworthy.
Right.
And to discern
Who
the
is
trustworthy and to trust that. So maybe one thing to get passionate about would be to develop and learn that kind of discernment.
Mm-hmm.
To make more and more discriminations and discernment about what are signs of trustworthiness and loyalty and what are the tools of communication and feedback that allow me to find that out and discover that. Okay.
That's true.
Is that something you could get excited about?
Yep.
In learning that?
Mm-hmm.
So take that on.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine moving through the world the next weeks and months, and maybe that's one of the outcomes that you're going for, to turn up your discernment and discrimination about what are signs of trustworthiness.
Mm-hmm.
And what are the tools, communication feedback tools, that I can use to create that?
Yeah, that would be exciting.
Okay. So if you woke up and that was your frame of mind, what new discrimination am I going to make today in discernment so that I can extend my heart and trust?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the resources to add. What frames of mind would you need to add that would support this kind of passion? Frames of mind that would support you moving in that direction, piece by piece, step by step, bit by bit.
A frame of mind of abundance.
Okay.
Abundance of energy as well as financial abundance, and abundance of people in the world who are trustworthy.
Okay, so if you had that frame of mind, then taking these steps and moving in that way passionately. So how much passion do you feel now? How much has it turned up?
4.
Okay, so we've got a 4.
Yep.
So be with that emotion. Know what it feels like. Imagine waking up when this training is over and you wake up and you've got a process of however you're going to learn those discernments and taking those steps and making your goals clear and more clear and having the right attitude each day.
Mm-hmm.
And adding those kinds of things. And be with that feeling. Notice what that's like if you woke up and that was your frame of mind. And as you do, just let that grow.
Mm-hmm.
Just let that double. Let that expand. Because you've got all kinds of other resources, your own proactivity, your own responsibility for yourself and to them, and your own optimism and all the other things we've been adding, the playfulness.
Mm-hmm.
So just be with all of that. And what does that do to your passion?
It brings it up.
Okay.
Inflates it.
Okay. So where are we on that scale of just thinking about that process now?
Oh, about 5 or 6.
Okay. Is that enough? Would you like more?
No, I'd like more.
Need more. Okay.
I want more.
All right. So be with that, because now we can start using the state dependency, because the more you get in the state, because you like to be passionate. Are you a passionate person?
I believe so.
Okay. So notice how you know that. Because that's how you like to live. So be with that. And what other resource do you need to add to this that'll juice it up, that'll make it more compelling?
Some organizational skills.
Okay.
Pulling things together.
Pulling things together. Organizational skills. So if you don't have those
Organizing.
yet or even know what they are,
Mm-hmm.
if you apply all that feeling to going and getting them,
Mm-hmm.
making that some of your outcome, I'm going to get those. I'm going to find someone who has those. You know anybody who has some of that?
Not right now,
Not yet. Okay.
but I will.
Okay. All right. And so where are we now?
About an 8.
Okay. Is that enough?
No.
No. We need more. Listen to the voice in your head as you think about that. Listen to the voice. What are you saying?
I think what I'm saying is, but exactly what am I going to be doing? I mean,
Okay.
besides all the, pulling the business together, doing the plan, attorneys, all that stuff, what is it that I'm really going to be excited about offering?
So you're still jumping way out there before you're there.
Yeah.
And that sounds to me like a way to kill the passion. Because you're really questioning, not in looking for, in an anticipatory way, what am I going to offer? But what am I going to offer? Does that serve you? Does that voice serve you? Does that enhance? Does this empower?
Yeah, it does serve
it
me in a
does.
way. Because it's like, you don't want to, I don't want to start a business not knowing what I'm going to be offering. Because,
So you have to know that before you ever start.
Right. To put the plan together, to, what are the components I'm going to start offering? I can add things later.
Okay.
But what is it that I'm going to get excited about offering?
Okay. So let me have you pull that in a little bit closer, so that, because that's out there and it's not real clear yet. And what I'm suggesting is let's focus on maybe the passion, to find that passion. So before you even find that, would it serve you well? Would it help you to become the kind of person who, once you find the passion, if you're passionate about finding it? So that to some extent, the first stage is inventing it and being passionate about inventing it, even though you don't know what you're going to be inventing yet.
Okay. Okay.
And that may go on for a week, that may go on for a month, that may go on for some time until... but if you're passionate about finding your passion, we've started a process, and you're in a new orientation and direction. And would that be good?
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay. How passionate do you feel about finding your passion?
Very passionate.
Okay. Enough?
Yes.
Okay. So imagine waking up after this training and you're back home. Imagine waking up and feel that passion about finding your passion.
Okay.
And notice the frame of mind you're in, notice the state, notice breathing, notice the eyes. Now the big question is, do you know how to have this? Can you have this then? You've got it now. Can you bring this back then?
Yeah.
Do you have a self-anchor for putting yourself back in that place and going for it to find your passion? Can anything stop you?
I like this every day.
Can
Wake up.
anything stop you?
No.
From being passionate about finding your passion?
No.
Maybe I could.
No.
No. Maybe some event out there in the world could.
No.
Maybe somebody else throwing cold water on your passion.
No.
And naysaying. Nah, 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 nah.
No.
So you got it.
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Give her a hand. That's it. All of us are going to find passion killers. And you've heard a number of them, and you may have been. And I think most of us are really skilled at killing our passions. And a lot of times we do the same thing. That we overwhelm ourselves, or we won't even give ourselves a chance because we can't figure it out. One of my guiding principles, I guess I need to make it a presupposition, is I'm inventing it as I go. Sometimes people ask me, where are we going to go in neurosemantics? I don't know. I have some dreams and hopes, but I don't know. And how are we going to get there? I don't have a clue. I've got several things going, but I'm willing to invent it as I go. I'm willing to take 2 or 3 steps passionately, and then see where are we now. Because I think that is a more resourceful attitude than I can't start until I got figure it out. And part of this is playfulness, and part of this is self-trust, and part of this is enjoying the process, that the process is more important than the end product. And you may find some other passion killers. Once you find the passion killers, of course, we'll want to make sure we can deal with them and counteract them with resources. So passion resources. What are your resources for passion? And for most of us, I think what Denise illustrated is going to be true for all of us. Having somebody who can go with me, having support, because it's hard doing it alone. And very few people can do it alone. The richest man in this country is Bill Gates. The second richest man is his next CEO. The third richest man in this country is the next CEO. I mean, he didn't do it by himself. There was a team. And so having a team and having the skills and maybe getting passionate about bringing people in and working that way. And if you've been betrayed, if you've been hurt, if someone is not being able to deal with that, because sometimes we won't give ourselves a chance to partner up again just because someone didn't come through with something. So what are your passion killers? What are the passion supporters? What are the frames that's going to support that, as well as feeling it so that we start now feeling passionate. Passion is not something I'm going, that's my goal. That passion is the way. So it's living with passion. Any questions on how to do the process? Okay.
Did you identify something that she was passionate about or something that she wanted to be passionate about?
Both.
Okay.
So after asking, do you have permission, and is it okay to dream, and to, what are you passionate about? And the reason for that first question, what are you passionate about, is to start getting some of those passions.
Okay.
And then the second question is, what are you engaged in right now, and are you passionate about that? Because if you know what passion feels like, what would it feel like about this? Because oftentimes we're waiting for passion.
Okay. So you're not specifically looking for something that they're not passionate about, they don't want to bring it to you, you just want to find out what it is they're doing now. And if they are passionate, then just bring more to it. Yeah. But if they're not, then bring it in there.
Yeah. Okay. So we want to meditate ourselves with passion. Okay. With passion to do whatever we're doing, to do it with passion. And that's going to change us, and it's going to, I think part of it is it enables us to move through the challenges and the engagements that we have, and to do so. So if part of it is learning something new, or pulling in team members, or whatever the process is, if we do that with passion, as our passion becomes closer and we make it more and more real for ourselves, we're already in that state. So that's what we're looking for here. Yeah. Other questions about how to do the process? Well, you ready for passion? Okay. So pair up, and we'll do 10 minutes each. And if you have any... Whatever we're doing full-hearted, totally engaged, using our genius state in the process. How did that go? Were you able to turn up the passion for the process of moving toward passion? Let's move to Juan first.
I guess that for me, the problem was not to get passionate, but to release the energy.
To release the energy. Okay. So say some more about that, releasing the energy.
Yes, because I feel too much energy, and what I'm going to do right now to not to feel desperate, because a lot of energy was in the movement.
Okay. And so how did you release the energy?
I made exercise. Pushing myself in the seat, in this seat.
Right. Okay. So some of you may need to moderate the energy rather than turning it up. You need to moderate it and pace yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
I have a lot of natural passion, but I realize that in the job that I currently have, and I've had it for a long time, there have been passion suppressors based on how things have been run and creativity that's been squashed, et cetera. And so Juan did the movie Rewind with me several times, and that cleared that.
Okay.
And it was more of
Good.
releasing obstacles, and then my natural passion surfaced.
Okay. Good. This is what I believe is true for all of us, that we're naturally wired to be excited and to be passionate. We're born that way. And it's the interferences that we need to clear out. And sometimes it's just rewinding a movie or dropping down through an emotion or forgiving and releasing. That it's the interferences. And so releasing the interferences allows the natural, childlike curiosity, passion, excitement to come back. And then when we get excited, that energy, that intentionality is what allows us to be at our best. And so that's one of my convictions, too.
What was interesting was that after the process, what just flowed into me was the frame of self-acceptance, self-appreciation, and awe for making it through that intact.
Okay.
You know, I mean, there was kind of a real sense of gratitude for myself. Oh, gosh, you know, I've still managed to hang on to this.
Okay. Very good. Good.
So what do you get if you layer playfulness on top of passion?
Playfully passionate.
So we have this little dog. My son calls him Dogus Maximus.
Dogus Maximus.
He's a dachshund type. I call him Zuber. He inspires me with his exuberance. So I went into exuberance.
Exuberance. All right. Good.
Playful passion. That's what that was. For me, my goal was to access passion at the blink of an eye, at a moment's notice. And so what I did was I searched for different states and where I was the most passionate. And, of course, my genius state was the most where the most passion was. So then I had just anchored on how that felt in the passion, in the genius state, and then anchored that so when I want to access it, it's like I'm there, step into it.
Okay, good, good.
It also reminded me something of, you refer a lot to Csikszentmihalyi in Flow, and in his latest book on leadership, he actually talks about setting goals for leaders, and he says, well, you never set a goal to finish a meal. You know, it's always about eating and so this is a lot about that same process, I realize.
Okay. So we start valuing the process itself for the process and enjoy it. Okay. Any troubleshooting we need to do? Anybody have any difficulty getting the passion and meditating yourself with that? Well, today we're going to take a little break right now and introduce. We're going to introduce the Metta Players. So if you'll give a big hand for three of our group, the Metta Players.
Thinking about some of the patterns that Michael run and some of the stuff that we've been doing here, and one of the patterns that we found like really being effective was the spinning icon. And the concept we came up with was, I like to run it with Michael now, and Nova was going to be on this side here to just act as the meta anchor. Now, because what we're thinking about is like Michael Hall is really on the cutting edge of I think you agree, on the cutting edge of what's going on in neurosymanthics and the cutting edge of communication skills. And it reminded us of a similar person years ago, if you're into music, that was on the cutting edge back in the 50s, a fellow by the name of Elvis Presley. And so we're thinking if you had the spinning icons here, and if you were to take the passion of Michael Hall and put him into this hand here, just let the passion of Michael Hall come into this hand. Think of the passion of Elvis Presley. You put him into this hand here. And then you just wonder what would happen. Fully get into that.
in this hand and Michael in this hand. And then you put Michael in that hand and Elvis in that hand. And you just start to let them spin and spin and spin until a new gestalt emerges out of this. And just imbue yourself with that and just let it happen. Do you feel it? Do you feel it?
Yes.
Can you feel it, brother? Can you feel the state? Can you feel the state? Feel the state. Let us state the state. Let us state the state. I feel the third state coming up here. Do you hear the voices? Oh, yeah. What are they? I got a song to sing. I'll support you in this. No, can you support me? I need some support. Just a little bit. You do that jailhouse rock song.
They've got a number of skits along this way. A number of years ago, they came up with "Waz Up" about Waz Up. Okay, no more playfulness. Let's get serious. Oh, we're going to be on page 55. We begin with passion. We begin with passion about what we care about and the skills that we have and the things that we can contribute, the things that we can do. We know that being and relating and contributing are three of the most significant things in our everyday lives. Who am I? Who am I connected with? And what am I doing? What am I contributing? What can I obtain? So we begin there to look at that passion. When we have passion, then we can begin to start to see opportunities. Now, opportunities is a real interesting word state. And we have some lines, at least in English, about when opportunity comes knocking on the door. And so a lot of us wait for opportunity. And if you've waited for opportunity, you know that that's not all that useful of a strategy. So it seems to me that one of the things that makes for a good business sense and being able to make things happen is to see opportunities. And my guess is that probably the majority of us here can see opportunities. How many you can see opportunities all over the place? Okay. So it looks like maybe 2/3 of the group here have that ability. Some people get locked in a perception, and it's like they can't see it except with hindsight. Boy, if I had just taken advantage of that. Of course, hindsight is so clear for all of us. We can predict anything except the future. It's the future that's so hard to predict. And here on this page at the very beginning, we do not see opportunities with our eyes. Opportunities do not occur in the sensory-based world where we could catch them on a videotape. To see an opportunity, we have to use our mind and to see it with the eyes of our mind, and that's why lots of people see it. So the ability to look at events of everyday life and those that others would see as, well, there's nothing here, it's boring, or there's just problems. That's all there is here. It's just problems and distresses, and things are not going right, and stresses or stupid things, and to see them as offering opportunities for fun, for profit, for development, for adventure, that's a special kind of seeing, and it takes a special kind of frame of mind to be able to see that. So those of you who can see opportunities where others would not see an opportunity, what is it that you have as part of your way of seeing and perceiving, believing and framing that allows you to do that? What are some of the things? Brian?
Basically, I don't use the word problem in my life. I use the problem. I use the statement that it's only an opportunity to excel.
Okay.
And that changes the frame around situations, which makes it, or has always made it easy for me to find a solution.
Okay. So a linguistic shift that there are no problems. There's just opportunities to excel. Theo?
Anything that people perceive as problems or aggravation, that's an opportunity.
Okay, and that's your attitude?
Yes.
Okay.
And everywhere I go, where I first get aggravated typically, then you see, oh, gee, that could be a business guy, we could do this, or we could solve it.
Okay. So when you hear someone talking about a problem, are you immediately just, that is an anchor for, there's an opportunity hiding somewhere? Okay, so that's the frame of mind that helps to look for it.
Find a need and fill it. If I hear someone
Okay.
expressing
A
some
need.
need, then I see an opportunity there.
Okay. And is that the first thing that comes to your mind? Where there's a need, where there's a problem, where there's something not going right.
What could I do, or what should be done to fill this need?
Okay, so that attitude of what can be done, that solution-oriented focus as part of the mind, what can be done, instead of wringing the hands and going, oh no, but going, oh boy, what can be done? Other things that you use to be able to see opportunities?
Well, for this, I put my goal and my vision, and then start looking for how I'm going to go there. And that opportunity for me.
Okay, so viewing whatever happens in terms of how could this fit my outcome, my goals. Okay, Theo again.
I many times ask, how can I make this better?
How can I make this better?
I don't find an answer, and I say, how can I make it worse? And then by this, usually then you get the answers, how you can improve.
Okay, because you're looking to see how things can shift. How can I make it better? How can I make it worse? What influences are affecting it? And so that presupposes, frame by implication, there's things I can do that what I do affects it. How can I make it better? How can I make it worse? Okay, so these are some of the resources for being able to see opportunities. One of the most dramatic stories, and I tell this in the Wealth Building, is an interview that Jay Abraham had with Fran Tarnkin. Fran, a few years ago, sold his 8th business. And that 8th business was the 8th business that profited over $1 million. One of them profited $35 million. So a person who's created 8 different businesses, and all of them multi-million-dollar businesses, probably knows something about wealth building and opportunities and seeing and seizing opportunities. And Jay Abraham said, well, what was the first time you ever made $1 million? And Fran said, and this must have been in the 60s or 70s or sometime earlier, he was standing in line at an airport with a little envelope that had the ticket inside. And the envelope at that time apparently was just blank. It was just a sheet of paper. It was a sheath of paper that kept the ticket. And there was nothing on it. And as he looked at that, he saw an opportunity. So he went up and said, who would I see to sell advertisement on the outside of this sheath of paper? And 8 people said, I don't know. So he went to somebody else, I don't know. Somebody else, I don't know. And he finally found the 9th person who said, well, you'd have to talk to so-and-so. So he just started calling and trying to find out who. when he found the person, he said, if I could give you these sheaths free, and I think it was for United Airlines, if I could give this to you free, how many would you need? And they said, well, 6 million every 3 months. His mind started moving, and he said, what printer do I know who could print 6 million every 3 months? And he knew a printer in Chicago, so he called him up and said, could you print 6 million every 3 months? And he said, I'd have to buy another press, have to hire another guy, I'd have to do this and have to do that. And he said, would you like to? And so then he started asking people who would want to buy advertisement. So he went, sold the advertisement on the outside, handed over the sheaths to United and had a contract for providing so many times. And the first year, he pocketed $1 million. And I wonder how many people stood in line and there were, things to do, and when I get home, and doing other kind of things on that paper, never seeing an opportunity. But seeing the opportunity was just the first part. The next was seizing the opportunity. To go ask and to say no 8 times, or I don't know, or I can't figure it out, and to keep going and keep going and keep going, persevering, because he had some idea that there was value here, that value could be added and contributed. I was in England, and Dennis Brideau, who's one of the neurosemantic trainers, was driving me up to Manchester, and we were driving up the motorway, and we pulled off to this petrol station. And so we get out, and I'm stretching my legs, and he grabs the handle and puts it into the car, and on the handle it says, Smoke Marlboro. Dennis says, who put smoking on the gasoline pump? And because I was doing the wealth building, I said, but who sold them that? Who would have thought that you could sell advertisement on the handle?
That's an anchor. Think of fire
and gas. So the ability to see opportunity and to seize opportunity. So on this page, we have those 2 states and the 2 gestalts. In step number 3, gestalt 1 is seeing opportunities. And here's just some of the things like possibility thinking and potential thinking and problem-solving skills. What can I do to solve this? There's always a solution to here. What's the need? Or just adventure and fun and playfulness. Or excited about problems. Now, that's probably the most challenging one, to get excited about problems. Even our own. To get excited, to have an oh boy response. Because I can add value now, because here's something that there's a need, as April said. There's a need. And where there's a need, then there's the possibility of some opportunity. Knowledge seeker, detective skills, what would it be like if I did this or that, experimental thinking. And so we start framing ourselves with those feelings, those states, those thoughts. We set that as a frame of mind so that it turns on our mind to be a searching mind for opportunities. The next one is a little different, because some of us torture ourselves, maybe 2/3 in this room who can see it. How do you seize it? How do you do something about it? How do you know which one to go for? So seizing an opportunity. A lot of times we have so many things we could go do it, and we may end up just acting on little bits of everything and then get nothing done and be a specialist, be a master of nothing. So in seizing an opportunity, sense of timing, is the timing right? Risk-taking. Have I done my homework so that I take intelligent and smart risks that I can handle? How much risk can I play with and handle? So risk-taking. Fittingness, how does this fit for me? I now have lots and lots of connections and people who are always writing me emails or calling me up and saying, here's an opportunity. And if I listened to all of them, I could have 35 things on my plate each week. And so most of the time, I'm checking it with sense of timing, fittingness. Does this fit with what I'm doing? Because my commitment is to do one thing at a time. And generally speaking, I'm writing one thing at a time or researching one thing at a time. And sometimes that's a 3-month project, sometimes that's 6, sometimes that's an 18-month. And so I'm going to be sending a lot of things away and saying, not now, it's not fitting for my energy, for the time, because I'm committed also. I'm not going to feel busy. I don't want to live my life that way. I got more things to do than to feel busy. I don't want on the gravestone to say he felt busy. You know? In fact, I tend to live my life, generally speaking, I'll get up in the morning and spend 2 or 3 hours reading. That's how I want to spend my life. I'm passionate about reading and researching and just doing that. And then I'll spend the time writing or talking with, being with people. So the fittingness, how does it fit your values? How does it fit your vision? How does it fit your criteria? How does it fit your relationships? And so testing and experimenting, how does it fit into priorities? Evaluating and weighing it. Maybe seizing the opportunity. Maybe you need more boldness, more gumption, more of a Puma state where you're just going to go for it, or reality testing, or taking small testing steps first. So that's just a menu list of some possibilities for seizing. So what we want to do is to get into a state where it's just an everyday, regular state, and then to bring this kind of resources so that it changes the quality of how I perceive the world. I look out for opportunities. Now, if you've already got that well done, you may just want to briefly try those on to make sure, of course, and that's a sign that you've already got it, that when you bring that possibility thinking, that problem-solving thinking, you go, of course, it's just the way I think. It's the way I perceive. I can see that. And you may want to add some other things just to make it richer in its quality and its texture, so you have the ability to see opportunities. And then if you're to the place, if that's new to you, then keep doing that until you have that rich. But if you're already there, then go to the next one about seizing opportunities. And one of the things you may have to do is have the ability and the firmness to say no to a lot of good things. That may be the resource to add. I am willing to say no to a lot of good things so that I can say yes to a couple really great things. Because my guess is that's the kind of decision-making we need to do. It's not between good and bad. It's between good and best, good and excellent and brilliant. And to do that, you have to say no to a lot of good things. And that can be hard. Especially if you see, well, that's an opportunity, and that would fit kind of. I don't know if I got enough time or energy for it, but and saying no to good things. So whatever you need to do to add to that quality of seizing an opportunity, to stepping out and doing that. In the wealth building process I've done, I've gone with real estate a number of years ago, about 6 years ago when I did the wealth building research, because I decided that would be something I could manage. It fit my values, it fit my understanding, because I figured I could understand that. And so when I started reading in that field, I realized I was doing several things wrong. And so I set a goal, I'm going to buy one house a year. Well, I've ended up buying 2 or 3 houses every year and moving things around until I'm to the place I am now. In fact, when I go back on July 7th, I'm going to close on 2 new houses. I've already got 2 families to move in there. And part of that is I saw an opportunity where I live, looking at that market and the new houses. They're building new houses for $100,000 up to $150,000 for a 4-bedroom new house. And so I realized there was an opportunity. When I bought one a couple years ago, the real estate agent who I was working with, she said, now, when this subdivision closes, every house goes up $15,000. I said, say that again. What did you just say? She said, the day the subdivision closes, every house goes up $15,000. I said, why would that be? She said, well, all the trucks move out, and all the construction moves out, and everybody plants their yards, and then it settles down. I said, really? 15,000, you say? So the next year I went and found another builder, and he was just starting a plat. There wasn't even a road out there. And I went in there and I said, have you sold any yet? He said, no. And I said, I want to buy 3. He said, okay. I said, but I only got money for 1. He said, well, I can't do that. And I said, what if you, in the newspaper, announced that you had a new plat, and before even the first road was in, 3 was already sold? Would that be something you'd like to put out there, come and get it quick? He said, that's a good idea. I never thought of that. And I said, I got some more. Where I live, in the winter, things close down, and there's a few months you can't really work because it's so cold. And so I said, do you ever lay off some of your workers during the winter because you don't have enough work going? I said, you could build my 3 in the winter. He said, I'm liking this. And I closed the deal. We walked back and forth from the negotiation table 14 times before we made our deal. But I saw an opportunity there. And so I bought 3. He built them in the winter. We closed them in the spring. And I said, I'm not in any hurry, just whenever you get them done. So if you get another deal and you build that house, come back and work on this one. Because I said, and so it was a win-win arrangement because of seeing an opportunity and finding out what another person needs and what I would want. And so seeing an opportunity and seizing it. And so seizing an opportunity is taking some of those risks and taking a risk that's appropriate, that's fitting for who you are and your style and your energy and those kinds of things. So this, I think, is a real important state to be in. Seeing an opportunity and then having the discernment, the business discernment, to decide when to take advantage and when to seize an opportunity or when to pass it on to somebody else who certainly could. I pass a lot of things on that way just because of the things I hear about. So who would like to, let me run this pattern with you up here on seeing or seizing. And it wouldn't make any difference, seeing or seizing. Mark? Okay. So you can see opportunities.
I think so.
Okay, so you see lots of opportunities?
Yeah.
Okay, what kind of opportunities do you see? Just to give me kind of a reference of what kind of field you work in.
It's not necessarily the field. I mean, with the glasses, these glasses here, I helped design these, and the guy that was selling them, he's Chinese, so they stick with their model, and it's tough to convince them to go with another model. But I told them polarized was coming in and glass polarized, and now they've built a whole line of them, and they're doing well. And unfortunately, I didn't seize the opportunity to get a percentage of that, and that's the 3rd time I've done that. And he's made millions on 3 of my ideas, and he's taken me out to dinner, but I haven't made any money. So I'm like, I mean, literally millions, nationwide, worldwide ideas on lenses and frames.
Okay, so you can see them.
Absolutely.
Your mind is full of that.
Tons of them.
Just for the sake of everybody else, what goes on? How do you see? What's inside your way of perceiving and perspective, your frame of mind that allows you to do that?
I think they come to me a lot of times with as a problem, and I'll say there's got to be a way around this. There's got to be.
That's the first thing in your mind. There's got to be a way around.
There's got to be a way out or around, and or both.
Okay, and you believe that?
Absolutely, yeah. Because I've seen it enough times. I mean, I've done it enough times where there's something there, and I say, what can I do to make it better? I've been inventing things since I was a kid. And I remember the reference point where it came. I took a 22 apart one time, and my dad had given it to me, and I took it apart, and when I started to take it apart, the springs popped out, so I couldn't see where they went back together. And I had to get that thing back together by the time my dad got home, so I had to play with it all.
This is necessity.
I mean, literally, the last screw was going in as he's coming in the door, and it's just like, yeah, what'd you do today? Nothing, you know.
Okay. So part of it is that there's always got to be a solution. There's always a way out or through.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there's creativity, mixing things, testing.
Exactly. Mixing things, coming up with something that I feel good about or telling somebody about it and them going, wow, that's a great idea. I love that kind of feedback. It's of giving somebody an idea, giving somebody some passion about it, and help them along the way some way. And it doesn't matter what category or area it is. I have the ability to focus in and help grow or shift it to another level or come up with new ideas.
So there's the focusing in on a specific and detailing whatever would help.
Exactly.
It sounds like part of the frame of mind is helping, wanting to be helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And recognition is part of it, too, knowing that at the end of it, that when I figure something out, that people appreciate that there'll be recognition in there. So I think that's a big driving
So that'd be a driving force, a motivation to find that recognition. Yeah. Okay, so at the reference point of just moving through the world, helping and seeing opportunities all over, seizing opportunities. What do you have already that's part of it that helps you to take a step?
Of seizing opportunities? I begin the process. I tell people, I talk to them, I can convince somebody else to and show them how this is going to fit into the model and prosper them or benefit them in some way.
Okay. So what do you need to seize? What do you need to seize?
I think the thing that stopped me from seizing has been the perceived work involved in becoming, the procedure part of it becoming from thought, concept to procedure, that there's something there that's like, that doesn't give me the same juice.
You're more global?
More global.
Than the detail, the step by step.
Exactly. So I would need this, I would need a passion or some kind of creativity or inventiveness towards the procedure itself, I guess.
Okay.
Not necessarily down to the fine details, but I think that's where I think is that I have to get down to dotting every T and crossing every T and dotting every I, and it's that kind of, it's like that part of it. So I'm on to another project to figure out.
Okay. So do you shift to other projects too quickly? Is that part of it?
Yeah, I can get something and boom, write it down, and I'll be on something, and ideas will just flood in so fast, and then before I really go back and review a lot of them, I've already got 100 other ideas.
Okay. So it sounds like the ability to say enough and to focus would be one thing that would help you to seize something that you choose to seize.
This is what you said about being able to say no to a lot of good ones, to be able to focus on a few that could
so let's
wealthy.
check that out. Do you have permission to say no to some good opportunities, choices?
Yeah, I've begun to, in my life, to start saying no to some things. Beginning to say no to some things.
Okay.
And now it's not about the no, it's about deciding which ones to say yes to. I think I have more trouble with which ones to say yes to than which ones to say no to.
So what would you need in order to be able to say yes to something? How would you know which one to say yes to? How would you make up your mind? What's the criteria that you'll need to be real clear about?
Well, I'll tell you, like with the glasses, it's such a saturated market now. It's not a market I really want to get into because of the amount. And then I think about working with MetaStates and doing some creativity in some programs and seminars, doing that. And I know that that's more based on my skill base than on something that's that's a tangible. It's more of an intangible. So I think it would be uniqueness and newness to the market.
Okay. So you do have some criteria as you look at any given market field.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
What else would you need in order to know that this is for me, this is something to say yes to and focus in on?
Development of it, I guess. The possibility of having it developed. I think I like other people involved in it too. I don't want to do everything by myself. I want other people there to share it with.
Okay.
You know, if I've got somebody to work with or work off of, there's a synergy there that's not there by myself. Hasn't been there by myself. I don't know what will happen after this class. It may be there.
Okay.
I can do that.
Up till now, you've always been solo?
Pretty well. I've gotten into some partnerships, but part of that deal was picking out people that weren't the match and that didn't carry through on what they were doing. So values, it was a values mismatch.
If you had a
choice.
Partnership, would that help you to give you other voices, other minds to bounce off, so that you could?
I think if I had somebody that did procedures real well and somebody that could do procedures, and I could keep moving forward with the creative, inventive part of it, and know that the procedures were being done, I think that would be huge for me right there.
Okay.
You know, get on the computer and type in, or if I need something. Even to put it in a voice recorder and then have somebody type it up and put it into an order and be able to go, okay, let's tweak this here, let's move this around, and not have the drain or the perceived drain of the procedures part.
So this does not sound to me like the need of a partner, but just, I mean, you can hire someone to do some of that.
Right. Yeah.
So do you need a partner or just to delegate some of the tasks, some of the details?
Yeah, because I could always throw the ideas around to friends and people that I know, and that can give me feedback. So there's always somebody to give feedback.
If you go back to the reference with the glasses, what stopped you from seizing it now that you have hindsight? What stopped you from seizing it when that was a possibility?
I get, I don't know if they're dragons or what, they come in, things that'll say to me, somebody will do this better, you'll get going at it, and somebody will take the idea and improve on it or do it quicker than you. They have the resources to do it faster and quicker, and you won't be able to get it out there on the market. The big guys will come in, take the concept, and blow me out of the water.
What state were you in? What state did those kinds of words induce for you?
Yeah, giving up, like kind of just like.
So
then I go on to another thing. Okay, what else can stoke me again that might meet the criteria?
So it sounds to me like when you start questioning yourself, when you start doubting, and doing a comparison, somebody else can do it quicker, better, big boy. When you do that, you're just ready to give up and not seize it. Okay, what else is there?
Yeah, it takes the K out of it. It takes the kinesthetic. It takes the energy and just kind of deflates it. And I know there has to be a comparison. And logically, I know that you have to consider what are going to be the things business sense. But it seems like it's so big of like extreme that it always comes in and knocks it down. No matter what, this part is able to be more creative in how to knock it down than I am to move forward in it.
So there's that creativity now doing something
unusual.
Exactly. Is that still there? Has that been dealt with in the last few days, or is that still there, that you would do that self-questioning, that comparison, putting you at the...
I think that I'm moving past it if I haven't already moved past it. It seems like I'm not going to know until I try it. And if it happens, then I think that the proactivity part of it is to be able to be flexible enough and know that I have creativity to maybe shift it or...
So what state would you be in if you're not in that state, if you're not in that self-questioning, comparing, putting yourself at the lower end, if you're not in that state, what state of mind would you be in that would be robust enough to look at it, work through the business sense, and then seize it if it's appropriate?
Confidence is just a state of moving forward, a confident moving in that direction.
So what would be the language inside your mind if you're confident?
This is going to work. I'm going to do this.
So would you need to be confident about it, or confident about yourself, or confident about both?
Well, I think therein lies one of the passive active, and I feel like I'm switching from passive into active, and the waiting for an event to trigger that emotion instead of bringing the emotion to the event or to my daily life.
Do you have confidence that you could figure it out?
Oh, I can always have. I mean, that's probably the most confident I am about figured something out.
Do you have confidence that you can work through the business sense and criteria? So that whether it works out or not, you have confidence you can find out.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I've put different businesses together before, and helped a lot of other people put businesses and ideas together.
Okay.
So
do you have permission to do this for you? You have permission, obviously, to do it for them. Do you have permission to do it for you? Do you deserve it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely deserve it.
Go into this state, and let's just put this state of confidence in self and figuring it out and business sense and deserving it, and feel all of that about the glass thing whenever that occurred. And if you were of that frame of mind, if you were in this state with those eyes, with that awareness, with that way of seeing it, would you have stayed in there and continued?
I'm starting to get a hit on the deserve it. I think there's something in there about deserving it. That's what you just said there. I said yes quicker than something else came in and said, don't deserve that.
Try that on. I give myself permission to deserve good things, deserve to succeed, deserve to take advantage of opportunities. I deserve that fully and completely, and see what happens.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is. It's a battle between I deserve it and then, things I might have done in my life, this may be the yin and yang karmic resolution. Well, and I kind of go, accept it. Well, okay, maybe this is... But I know the deserving thing. I was like, no, I deserve this, and that's part of it. And I'm in the process now, this whole new line. We had an agreement on it for it to be 50-50, and now he's knocked it down to 10%. and I'm not going to get the spin. And I'm just kind of, because he brought his son into the deal, and it's actually his son I convinced about it, and was like, whew, man, I was like.
So what does that mean about you? What did that mean?
It means that I gave too much away too quick without making some kind of a contract written down. I've gone too much on verbal contracts with people, trusted them.
So part of business sense is written agreements.
Right, some kind of a written agreement.
Do you have permission to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Without, I think written too is like a lengthy contract. I think maybe a handwritten one, just a short handwritten one to get down specific details in the beginning of an idea before I share an idea at least.
Yeah.
A non-compete or non-disclose, something that I could do.
Okay. And how does deserving this settle now?
Yeah, and it actually feels more like the passive part, again, was letting somebody else do this, and now I feel like, do I even want to do something with another product with somebody else? If I'm active, then I'll do that. I don't need anybody else to do that, to do a seminar, to do tapes, to do CDs. I can do all that myself.
Okay. So we've added, for seizing it, we've added confidence in self, confidence to figure it out, some business sense, some deserving it.
Yeah.
What else do you need to add to that so that you can take that action and seize at least the process before you just go and jump to something else? Seize that process of exploring some possibility, some opportunity.
I think I got to give myself a commitment to at least see it to some sort of completion, like almost to close the door on the decision, to make it the decision, and to make it available to negotiate with that decision. However, there's no backing out of it. Kind of like put myself into it and say, okay, here I am.
Okay.
And I'm doing this, and there's no backing out. However, there is an option to negotiate about how I move forward.
Okay. So when you put on the state of negotiating, you know, to back and forth until it feels like it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, that's different because it's out here now. Before it was always negotiating passively inside me, and now it's kind of like, how would I negotiate into my future?
So maybe assertiveness, just putting it out on the table?
That's a big one there for me, yeah, because sometimes I'm afraid I'm going to hurt somebody's feelings, or maybe I'll get rejected, or the no part of it, or it's not going to work. And so I'll hold off being assertive about what's really going on inside of me. I won't give them everything, and to put it all on the table.
Okay. Yeah. So as you put that on now, just lay it out there, and let the game begin of negotiating, see where it goes.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, because it seems like at that point I'm leaving doors open in the future and not knowing what's going to happen, and kind of almost waiting for something to resolve itself instead of just getting it from the beginning. And I realize a lot of the dragons and the negative come in from my illusion of what's going on with this person or this event, when I could just ask or find out directly.
Okay. Anything stopping you from asking now?
The only thing that comes in is time. Sometimes people say, well, I'll let you know in a couple of weeks, or holding up, that type of thing. And
so if you view that as that's just part of the negotiation as well,
then I'd have to find some way to control the, like, oh man, let's get this done. Let's come on. Why is he making me wait 2 weeks? That type of thing. Instead of being in 2 weeks period of time, having that continuing feeling, to be able to shift state and go into something that would be more proactive, really.
So in that proactivity, in that responding with your power zone, what if we brought some patience there so that it's not driven by impatience or desperateness, because that's not a very good place to be negotiating from.
Right.
But if you operate from, if it works out fine, if it doesn't, fine, I'll give this.
It's almost like instead of having one pipeline, it has to be able to go now sideways, and then
having a couple of things you're working on.
Alternatives that I can be just as proactive and passionate about going in there. That could be doing things in the meantime. A lot of times I'll get stuck. I have gotten stuck on just well, I can't move until this thing, and so I'll just be passive and not do anything, and then things change.
Okay. So how does it feel when you try this other one on? That I can have a couple of things going.
It feels good because I'm realizing too that a lot of it I was thinking not only that I was upset that they hadn't made the decision, but that maybe they would feel guilty or they would feel bad if I went somewhere else. And I have to say no, I've got to be true to myself and committed and say I'm moving forward. And if they're waiting and the opportunity slips by them, then
that's not your responsibility.
That's it. That's not my responsibility.
Okay.
I take responsibility for myself.
For to them. Okay. Do you have permission if they miss it and they feel bad, they can have their feelings?
Yeah, and then maybe find a way to negotiate them back in if they want to. Sure,
okay.
But that if it's a time element, then I've got to do what I know I've got to do without having to wait.
That self-integrity helps you to seize an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Be true to yourself, your values.
Right.
Okay. So we've added a lot of things. When you take all of that, imagine moving out into the weeks and the months to come.
It's like I can feel it. It's like I'm putting reins on a horse that's ready to go or something.
Okay.
It's like a back and forth.
All right. So you like that?
Yeah, I want more of this aspect, but I want to be able to check, too, to be able to stop and slow down. Like another one of my fears is that I'll be going so fast, so directionalized, that I'm not going to be able to stop and appreciate life, or I'm going to miss a whole lot of stuff.
Okay.
So I want that built in there, too, somehow.
So what resource would allow you to have that?
I think I would have to schedule in specific times of the day, no matter what I'm doing, to stop and take hold, meditate, pray, and think about, if this is what I want to do, to be able to step in and out.
Okay. So now you're using that criteria of how much energy do I have, and what kind of quality of life do I want to choose, and how busy do I want to be, or how.
Right. And a lot of the previous work I could see has helped in this just switching states faster, because I'd be in states for long periods of time, or perceived that I was in states. And not being, now I can, from the ability to switch quicker, it gives me the option to say, hey, I can jump into this genius state, and then jump out of it and back and forth. That frees up a lot for me there, and it gives this process a chance to really work.
Okay. As you try this on and you anticipate and think about future pacing this, are you fully aligned with this? Is there any part that's not quite aligned with it yet?
I just think the financial thing, but I'd have to work and negotiate with that, and getting resources to financial resources in the picture. So.
Okay.
But that's part of any business process is fine.
Okay. Do you have the ability to remember this state, this frame of mind, all this layering, so that what you've been layering on, how you've been adjusting and texturing your consciousness and your perception, that you can have this, feel this, be this, think this, whenever you want to?
I question if my mind does. I think my body can always remember that.
So your body knows how to feel this.
Yeah.
So if you were to summarize in one word, or summarize in a phrase, or summarize in a metaphor, the frame of mind that you're in right now.
Determined.
Determined.
Yeah.
Okay.
Determined. It's about moving forward, not and closing off the doors behind me. So just determined to move forward.
Determined to move forward.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you hear that, maybe hear it in a special way inside your mind. Determined to move forward. And you can step into this state, you can step out. And when you need to ask about, is it time to seize opportunity, you step into that determined to move forward to see how to use that frame of mind, looking at it.
Yeah, it's when you said in your mind, put the words, it's almost like I got a couple speakers that came in back here, and then I could feel the kinesthetic and filled in back here. So there wasn't just something like forward from here, but pushing me from behind forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so I think determined to move forward and give myself, instead of thinking it has to be an instant state, give myself a minute or two to work up into it if I have to.
Okay.
Or 5 minutes. Or 30 seconds.
Okay.
Whatever it takes.
Give him a hand. So we're doing lots of layering and adjusting and tweaking so that we can be of the frame of mind that we need to have in a given situation. And it'll be really customized to you and the kind of business sense skills that you want to have. One of the things I did very similar to Mark is I put a whole bunch of frames about negotiating. I can always walk away from a negotiating table because there's been times when I couldn't walk away. I had to have the table. But once I gave myself permission, I can always walk away. And if it's not a win for me, I don't want it. If it's not a win for them, I don't want it. I'm not going to take responsibility for it being a win to them. I'm going to ask them, is that a win for you? So with Terry Lawrence, the builder of these houses, I kept saying to Terry, is that a win for you? And he said, no, that's not a win yet. And every once in a while he says it's a win. I said, well, it's not quite a win for me yet. And we walked away 14 times. And toward the end there, I really didn't want to walk away. But it wasn't quite a win. And so, but I didn't want to be in a state of desperateness or need or anything like that. I wanted to be also respectful and playful. In fact, these next two houses I just bought from him as well. And so negotiating, because one of my frames is, it's not a win if this is going to push or stretch the relationship to where I don't want it, to where we can't continue. It's kind of like the pilot. I was in Australia and we were modeling a guy who was a pilot, and he said, I said, what's success? He said, well, if I land. He said, but it's even better if you can use the plane again. So it's kind of like, can I use this relationship again? That's even better. Oh, different reference. I didn't know pilots thought that way. Any questions on how to do the process? We'll just need to keep layering and layering and adjusting it, trying it on, and until you have what it's going to take to see opportunities and seize opportunities. And of all the things, of all the skills, I think for the people who are entrepreneurs, who are out there on the cutting edge of things, who are self-made millionaires, I think it's this ability to see and seize opportunities that makes them different from the rest of us. And that when we take on that kind of richness of perception, then we too enter into that world. And so making sure that it serves you, fits your values, and that's why I can't tell you what you need. But I can coach you through it so that you can find out what you need to make it fitting for you. So we're going to spend a little bit more time with this one. We'll spend 20 minutes each so that you can see and seize opportunities. And maybe we'll talk a little bit more about when we come back. So what is the referent? In what area do you want to see opportunities? So in what area? So for me, it might be in the housing, real estate market. It may be in trainings and books and things like that. So what area, or what is the field area that you're talking about? Just seeing and seizing opportunities. Well, 20 minutes each, and then we'll return here.